For this project, I have chosen to analyze three different pieces of my writing. The topics of each of these pieces all come from my time here as a student at Kansas University. In each piece of my writing, the analysis will be focused on who the intended audience is and how the writing style changes between audiences. The first piece of writing that will be analyzed is a project where each student was asked to focus on one certain issue in society and create a fictional campaign about the issue. The issue that I chose to talk about in my project was vaping, specifically directed toward college students, teenagers, and nicotine users in general. A cover letter from this project is going to be the specific piece of writing that will be analyzed. The intended audience for this project were the people I listed earlier, but I really was writing to myself because I had recently quit vaping. Secondly, the next piece of writing of mine that will be analyzed in this paper is actually being written to the faculty and the student affairs department here at KU. After some unfortunate events that happened last year in my dorm room, my roommate and I were required to write a 500-word piece about the events that happened and how we were going to change after it happened. In a brief summary of what happened in my dorm room, my friend came into my room late at night to rip my electronic cigarette and set off the fire alarm. I wrote this piece with a very apologetic and non-motivated tone as I dreaded writing this and intended audience being the faculty and student affairs department of KU. The final piece of my writing analyzed in this essay is going to be a speech I wrote and presented in my Communications 130 class earlier this semester. This objective of this speech is to inform the audience about something they are not familiar with and educate them on that topic. The topic I chose was explaining the sport of rugby. In this speech, I went over basic gameplay, history, and a deeper understanding of the game to help the audience ease into the sport. The intended audience of the speech were my classmates. Since the class had little to no knowledge about the sport, I was forced to dumb things down and take more of an elementary approach to the speech. When I started the writing process in all of these pieces that will be analyzed, the most important thing I thought about is who the audience that will be reading and interpreting my writing. After it is clear who my writing is going to be directed towards, my writing process becomes much more clear. To begin the analysis, I will be talking about my cover letter I wrote in my English 101 class last semester. When this project was assigned to me, I immediately knew the topic that I was going to focus on, and that was vaping among college students and teenagers. This project gave me more of a voice and helped me quit vaping as I chose to use myself as an audience while I wrote the cover letter and the rest of the campaign to push myself to finally quit. The name that was chosen for the campaign was Jules Not Cool. This was created because firstly, it's very catchy and a clever name for an anti-vaping campaign as it pertains to the brand Juul, but also reminds people that vaping is bad for you and you should stay away from it. Another part of this project was to create some sort of catchphrase or slogan for your campaign, and I created "Put down the nick or you'll get sick." After creating the slogan, I began to take this slogan with myself mentally no matter where I went. This campaign that I created reflects how the intended audience is of great importance in my writing, as this project was written for myself to help me quit vaping. The next piece of my writing is my letter to the Faculty and Student Affairs Department of Kansas University. After my roommate and I had gotten word that we were required to write this piece, I began to dread writing it very badly because it wasn't for a grade and I wasn't the one who set off the fire alarm. The lack of motivation appears right away as you look at the writing and see that the piece is one huge paragraph that is a page long. I wanted to get this piece written as fast as possible, and I cared only about hitting the 500-word count mark and getting a hold lifted off my KU account. The other aspect I brought forward in this writing was the apologetic factor. The whole reason for me writing this piece in the first place is because I broke the rules on university property and had to make the faculty at KU feel like I was sincerely sorry because they were the intended audience. With the situation being revolved around vaping, I thought it would be a good idea to tell the university how I will be taking future steps with vaping. Writing the exact paper is a prime example of why this situation represents myself in a negative way. Since this event has occurred, I realized that that wasn't the person I would like to be and continue my life as, so I decided to not allow any kind of nicotine in my room or in my body. HOye 2019. This statement I wrote, the Student Affairs Department will give the faculty some closure, knowing that I was truly sorry for the actions I had done. With my word of not using nicotine again, shows the audience I was sincerely apologetic toward the University of Kansas. Finally, the last piece of my writing we will be analyzing is going to be the speech about rugby. Rugby is a foreign game to most people in America, especially if your high school did not have a team or you don't know someone who has played the game before. When writing my speech, I was forced to dumb things down or make things more simple, as the intended audience had very little knowledge about the game. The whole objective of the speech was to inform the class of the game of rugby. Since football is insanely popular in America, I thought it would be an easy way to connect with the audience right in the introduction of my speech. A very common misconception about the sport is that it's like American football with no pads. Yes, both of the games are very physically demanding contact sports, but are played very differently. HOye 2019. Preceding this quote, I go into detail how the sports are different and expand on the game of rugby. By connecting with the intended audience at the very beginning of the speech, it makes the audience stay more engaged and attempts to focus on what I am saying to understand the game because I made an effort to make it more simple to follow along. Intended audience is the most important part of writing because if you don't know who you're writing to, how do you expect anyone to understand your writing? In these three pieces of my writing that were analyzed, a common theme of understanding surround these writings. Further step on understanding can be taken into future research paper looking into how writing a certain audience can help or hinder the audience from understanding what the author is attempting to get across. If the intended audience can't seem to understand what the writer is trying to get across, maybe the writer is writing to the wrong audience.